presentation by administrative staff of a proposal redistricting plan for police jury single-member districts. Mr. Breen.
Thank you, Mr. Brame. Back on February 16th, we presented the results of the 2010 census for Calcasieu Parish to you, which showed the population and demographic information for the existing police jury districts. And that was the formal kickoff of what we call the redistricting process. And as Mr. Kade Cold, pointed out that evening, that requires that you declare the districts to be what they call malapportioned, which simply means they don't fall within the accepted deviations from the federal law that you have to live within. So you have to redistrict. And it's a very common thing. As a matter of fact, most places have to do that. In tandem with Mr. Cole, and after compiling a lot of information from all of you, and there's several staff. When I say we, I want to commend several staff, at least 10, who worked on this along with me and Kade, and have a lot of different roles and will continue to. We have developed a proposed redistricting plan for Calcasieu Parish for the 15 single-member districts. Now, this proposed plan addresses the criteria and the requirements set forth under state law and under the applicable federal regulations, which are administered by the Department of Justice. Now, as a reminder, this was covered already, but it's been a few weeks. The population for Calcasieu as of the 2010 census is 192,768. So if you divide that number by 15, you get an ideal size of 12,851 per police jury district. And again, you have a plus or minus 5% deviation that is allowed when preparing a redistricting plan on either side of that ideal. Our proposed plan as presented herein includes several highlights. I'll just name a few, but they're very important. First is it protects the 4 what are referred to as majority minority districts, and the African American percentages range in those districts from 60.3% to 69.6%, which is very good. That is the range that you want to shoot for with any majority minority districts, which we have 4. It maintains the core area of the police jury districts, meaning no district incumbents will run against each other. And it includes only 3 newly split precincts. That is something the state looks at. You can split precincts for this process, but you have to do it only on a required basis. You can't just do it to shape districts in the manner you wish. And it actually reduces the number of districts that cross the Calcasieu from 2 to 1. Calcasieu is a pretty big body of water, and in any parish or county, you want to see if you have a river like that to try to keep as much as possible on one side. There are several documents that are included with a packet Jessica's going to hand out to each of you, and I'll just quickly go through what those are, and then I will turn it over to Kade, who will review the actual proposed redistricting plan. And let me just state, while Jessica's handing those out, I want to thank all the staff, but give Kade a special recognition. He has worked very hard on this process with us, gone through literally dozens of scenarios to come up with a plan that we've reviewed. And one of the benefits of modern technology is that you can look at a lot of different options and see what works and what doesn't fairly quickly. So he's been very thorough, and you'll see that, I believe, in his explanation. Your packet has a parish-wide map illustrating the proposed district boundaries. We have a metro area map, which is the same map basically zoomed in to the more populated areas, Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, primarily. So you can see the streets better. There is a condensed police jury district population table, which includes the deviation percentage and the African American percentage for each district. And then there is a more detailed table which has that same information, but it actually shows you the precinct numbers and populations that are within each district as proposed. And lastly, you have a list of the current polling places, which are there for your cross-referencing. If a lot of you will need to refer to that to see what precinct and where people vote. So you have that as well. That is not new. That has been in existence for a while. I want to go ahead and just for a second look ahead beyond tonight. Where do we go from here? Tonight is to present the plan to you and officially put it out there beginning tomorrow and through April 7th for a public comment period. There is, as a meeting notice, as you saw earlier in the week, went out for a public hearing next Tuesday in this room at 5:30 for the sole purpose of getting any public comment on this plan. So we will reconvene here, open it as a special meeting of the jury, but just have that one agenda item. And we will record whatever is presented that evening. Kade will likely go through something similar as tonight, and we simply hear input from the public. You won't have to deliberate anything on that meeting. And we do encourage public comment between now, not just at that meeting, but any time between now and April 7th. We are going to use several avenues to communicate this plan to make sure people are aware of it, including the official journal, which is the Lake Charles American Press, news releases, media advisories. Our website will be an excellent place to study this plan. The government channel and other sources as needed. With the tight deadlines in place this year for redistricting, we strongly recommend that you take action on a plan on April 7th at your meeting then. That will allow us time to prepare what is a very voluminous set of documents and records and information to go to state agencies and the Department of Justice. With that, at this time, I'll ask Kade to come up. He will use two maps primarily to give some detail on the plan and how it was developed, and then take any questions from jurors, and then that'll wrap up our part for tonight.
Okay, just state your name.
Kade Cold. Mr. President, members of the jury, I'm happy to present our consensus proposed redistricting plan, the result of great effort and countless hours by your administrative staff, the GIS staff, and of course we also received assistance on the data from the Registrar of Voters. Our plan respects distinct communities of interest, keeping them intact where possible, and provides for districts of compact and logically adjacent territory. The shapes on the map may look interesting, but that's precisely because we had to follow the existing precinct boundaries. And of course, our citizens do not live in neatly distributed squares. We don't control where the people live or the demographics of folks on the ground. We simply draw a plan that complies with the applicable state and federal law based on the facts as they exist. Since single-member district elections began in 1971, I've looked at the police jury plans, redistricting plans through the years. And although I recognize that the shifts we're going to discuss tonight are important to the people affected, I can say with confidence, and I'm very proud, that this plan has the least change of any redistricting plan that I think has ever been before the police jury. The ability to keep district lines as close to where they started as possible is important because it only creates public confusion if we were to start from scratch and erase them and begin anew. It's important to remember that the plan is driven by the law and the numbers. We'll start by going over the plan in West Calcasieu. I'm happy to say that in West Calcasieu District 11, which is the DeQuincy Starks area, District 12, which is the Carlos-Vinton area, and District 15, which is East Sulphur, including Maplewood, do not change at all. These districts grew in line with the parish's population, allowing us to keep these three boundaries exactly as they are today. District 13, centered in Old Sulphur, gained a small precinct, 460 East. This precinct exists under the current plan and is merely being moved from District 14 to District 13. This area is bounded between Highway 27 and North Claiborne all the way up to the Houston River. District 14, which is the Westlake-based district, gains the area of North Westlake currently represented by Lake Charles juror. We believe this is positive because it reduces the number of districts that cross the river and makes Westlake whole. I think it serves to protect our traditional communities of interest and kind of preserve those as intact. Moving to East Calcasieu, you can see that District 1 was required to shrink because it was the most overly deviated. I should note that we looked seriously at Mr. Spell's request at the possibility of a second jury seat based primarily in Ward 1, but the numbers do not support this at the present time, perhaps in 10 years. Although it maintains a presence east of Highway 171 all the way to Clyde Delaney Road, we shifted the Gillis-Topsy area out of their current districts and contracted District 2 to reduce its footprint in Ward 1. The Gillis area is moved to District 10, giving us a rural East Calcasieu district that includes the Bell City Hayes area, the Iowa Blue Settlement area, and then the Gillis area. District 1 will lose the area north of Gillis Cutoff, while District 2 loses the area north of Clyde Delaney. The consensus was that the Gillis area is an identifiable community, distinct and apart from Moss Bluff, that has a rural ethos that fits well with the rural East Calcasieu district that is District 10. The addition of this area to District 10 requires that District 10 contract out of Ward 3. So District 10 will no longer go into Ward 3, which was in any event becoming increasingly suburbanized. So the shifts in the area outside of Ward 3 are not remarkably dramatic and are mostly dictated by some population shifts and growth in the Ward 1 area, which required some additional juror representation to shift up into that area. And so we'll move now to a metro map that kind of focuses on Ward 3. I'm going to move it out so I can see a little better. This metro view gives us a zoomed-in version and allows us to kind of look at what's happening mostly in Lake Charles. Any plan is required by federal law to preserve 4 effective majority-minority districts. And because of the shift in African American population from the area north of I-10 into central Lake Charles, broadly defined as the area between I-10 and 210, we have to move the districts that represent African American voters into these new areas of African American growth. This population realignment causes shifts in Districts 2, 3, 4, and 5. District 9, in the southeastern area of the city of Lake Charles, does not change at all, primarily because it was both a growth area and a growth area for African American voters. As mentioned before, District 2 contracts out of Ward 1, keeping one precinct in Ward 1, but shrinking its footprint in Ward 1. District 2 then, to give it an appropriate minority population, gains area that's currently represented by District 3, largely the area west of Enterprise Boulevard and north of Division Street. As the smallest district following the 2010 census, District 3 was required to grow considerably. District 3 had to grow significantly into central Lake Charles to maintain the same demographic makeup. It gained a certain area below 12th Street, current boundary was 12th Street, and west of 3rd Avenue. It continued into central Lake Charles by gaining the area from there roughly down to the Prien Lake Mall, stretching generally to include the territory east of Lake Street, north of Prien Lake Road, west of Kirkman, and below 18th Street. It also gained some territory between 12th and 18th Street, west of 3rd Avenue, all the way to Ryan Street. District 3 has to pick up this territory because this is where the voters are. District 4 gained area between I-210 and 18th Street, between 5th Avenue and Kirkman. District 5, represented by Dr. Mackey, maintains its core in the Shell Beach Drive, Old Lake Charles Garden District area, but has to grow significantly into South Lake Charles, taking the Holly Hill area, as well as precincts from District 6 above McNeese Street. District 6 loses these northernmost precincts above McNeese Street, but gains the area around the airport. District 7 shifts southeasternly to gain the area between Tom Hebert Road and Ward Line
I
Road.
think you got carried away on mine. I think you got me numbered down there in Cameron. Either that or the number fell off the board. I don't know which.
Yes, Mr. Landry, we can go back to the whole parish view. This is a zoom in that zoomed in a little too far. So.
Green Lake Road at the north and the Cameron line on the south. That's quite a stretch.
Right. It had the Cameron line as its border anyway. It just moves the eastern border from Tom Hebert Road to Ward Line Road. District 8 was so large that it did not need to gain any territory. It simply gave up to District 5 the precinct east of Isles and north of Sale Road. There are only 3 splits in the plan, all required to provide paths for districts into new territory. Precinct 303 is split at Enterprise Boulevard, a very identifiable street. Precinct 303 East remains with District 3, while Precinct 303 West will shift to District 2. Precinct 320 is also split at 3rd Avenue, with 320 East maintaining with District 4, while 320 West is going to go to District 3. Precinct 319 is split at 18th Street, with the northern portion joining District 3 and the southern portion joining District 4. And the reason for that split is you went from having these horizontally aligned precincts to having these vertically aligned precincts, and they provided a block that kind of prohibited shifting west, so we needed to split that one to kind of give a path west. In conclusion, the plan can be summarized as follows. It does not change 4 districts, including most in West Calcasieu. It provides for one rural East Calcasieu district combining wards 2 and 8 with the Gillis area. It maintains the growing Moss Bluff and southwest Lake Charles regions with single drawers who didn't have to grow in territory. And it recognizes the demographic shifts in central Lake Charles by combining this growing African American area with existing majority-minority districts. Finally, it shifts the districts represented by Dr. Mackey, Mr. Scott, and Mr. Landry counterclockwise, driving them southeasternly to pick up the territory vacated by Mr. Stelly's district. This was a very difficult process, and any moves require adjustment of other parts of the plan. As Brian said, we went through a variety of scenarios to try to prevent some of these shifts. But what we've ended up with is what is absolutely necessary to make the numbers work. We can look at other options, but we feel confident, having looked at many of them, that this is what works and works best for the police jury districts. Of course, though, we welcome public comment and ideas. The maps are available on the police jury website, I understand, as we speak. And furthermore, will be displayed in the lobby here in the parish government building and with the Register of Voters office. There's a lot of traffic that goes through there. The public comment period, which will allow written comment, will last from here all the way till April 7th, where there will also be a public hearing. But there is a special public hearing scheduled for next Tuesday night, where this will be the only thing discussed. The public can bring their comments to that hearing. Brian may have some additional comment about how the public can submit this or about the remainder of the process, but that ends my presentation, and I'm happy to take any draw questions if Brian has anything to add.
Kade handled it well. I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. Does any GRs have any questions for Kade?
Let me switch, Mr. Bryan, back
Go
to
ahead.
the overall map, just so Mr. Landry can see that he doesn't go into Cameron's hair.
I thought I was going to get the courthouse in Cameron.
There's a sub.
So this is, again, the parish-wide map where you can see there are largely 3 South Lake Charles jurors, 4 Central and North Lake Charles jurors that are African-American districts. 1 district, District 5, which kind of splits evenly between South Lake Charles and Central Lake Charles. A rural East Calcasieu district going from Gillis to Bell City Hayes. And then the districts on the west side largely stay exactly the same, with the exception of making Westlake whole. So that's where we're at.
Mr. McMillan, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cole, on what you've done. I know the people of Westlake are going to be thrilled to kind of all be encompassed in one district. Although Ms. Griffin did a tremendous job serving them, I hope I can fill her shoes in Westlake and do a good job as she has. But to have that Westlake district not crossed over by the river, I think is something that a lot of people have requested, and I think you bringing that into this this redistricting proposal is very important. Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Dr. Mackey.
I'll just make one comment. He can't get in her shoes.
No, I can't, but I might.
He can't get his feet in her shoes, period. Thank you.
Ms. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. In reference to Mr. McMillan, I served Westlake well, and I don't have a problem with giving it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Okay, with any other discussion? None. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Brian, for the presentation. We appreciate it.